Moving to the next thing. The big, beautiful land grab. Big, beautiful land grab. So, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But for years during the Biden administration, Trump was trolling him, basically saying all the carbon Green Deal stuff was just a giant load of things, whatever he calls it. I don't remember his exact quote, and I don't want to make sure that I get it too wrong. But he's basically just saying it was the opportunity to bring the country down and to take freedoms and property away from landowners and all this type of stuff. But yet, somehow, in his big, beautiful bill, which he's taking credit for, of course, is he's going to take credit for everything. There's a thing in there about basically any landowners taking away states' rights, and any landowners who don't want to give over to the carbon pipeline, well, eminent domain will be applied and they'll just do it anyways. If you guys don't know what the carbon pipeline is, it's not an energy pipeline. It's not regarding like natural gas or anything like that, which again, that still does not have it should not, I say that doesn't, but it should not have the rights to take people's property away. We'll talk about that in just a second. But the carbon pipeline is basically a giant pipeline that sucks in carbon and stores it underground. That's what it is. And in this bill, it's hidden, and it's hidden good, that the carbon pipeline can now be used, or for the carbon pipeline, eminent domain can be used in order to make it happen. So the whole idea of taking carbon away, the very thing that we breathe in that makes us living, we are the carbon they want to reduce, remember that, has to do with taking people's property away. Now, we've been hearing from the WEF for so long, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. We've been hearing that for a long time. But the thing is nobody owns anything anyways. I mean, I'm going to go a little civil here. I can't think of the word. But nobody owns anything anyways. For all you people who own property and you own the house and you're not paying the mortgage or whatever, stop paying your property taxes and see what happens. They come in and take your house, take your land. They'll take everything away if you don't pay property tax. You don't own it. Even though it's quote unquote paid off, you don't own it. Because if you stop paying them for it, they come and take it. Same thing with your car. It's, again, they've got it. So try driving a car around that's not registered. You're going to get pulled over, get taken away. You can't do it, even if the car is paid off. You don't own it. They do. It's not registered, then you can't do it. If you don't have insurance for it, you can't do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that everybody thinks that because they own something that's paid off or whatever, they don't. So this idea of you will own nothing and be happy has already been in play for decades. For decades. And it's not going away. They're just advancing further, basically trying to get inside your body to own the inside of your body, and they're getting pretty close to that, I'll tell you what. So from here, the South Dakota Searchlight, it says, is Congress trampling on states' laws protecting property rights against pipelines? This is from May 15th. Lawmakers and, I hate that word, lawmakers and advocates on the right and left are raising questions about a provision in legislation a powerful U.S. House committee approved Wednesday, with critics arguing it would allow federal regulators to approve natural gas and carbon dioxide. That's the one, the carbon dioxide pipelines over prohibitions in state laws. Two sections in the House Energy and Commerce Committee's reconciliation instructions, which the Republican-led panel passed along party lines, would allow pipeline operators to pay $10 million to participate in an expedited federal permitting process that critics would override state laws. If you guys noticed, there's a massive theme going on with the Trump administration where if you are rich, you get exclusive rights. If you want to be a U.S. citizen, you pay the 5 million? Is it the 5 million Trump visa or whatever? And you can come over into the country. If you're rich, if you want manufacturing done, you pay a certain thing. You get, and you're rich, you pay a certain thing for certain rights in order to do it. On this one, if you want to get your pipelines done and you have people and their property in the way, if you pay and you are rich, you get access in order to do it. Have you guys noticed that that is a theme? It's all about the rich. The rich are getting special treatment as long as they've got the money and they're a part of a certain rich club in order to do it. And so within this bill, if you got 10 million and you're a pipeline operator, you can pay it to get expedited federal permitting process to override state laws. The potentially intense controversial provision would give the Federal Agency Regulatory Commission exclusive authority to issue licenses for pipelines carrying natural gas, carbon dioxide, hydrogen, oil, and other energy products and byproducts, notwithstanding any other provision of law. If the Commission issues a license under subsection C1 of this section and the licensee is in compliance with such license, no requirement of state or local law that requires approval of this location of the covered pipeline with respect to which the license is issued may be enforced against the licensee. A summary document provided by the committee says the bill would apply to states only in cases where when state agencies are responsible for conducting federal reviews. For states, this includes their authorities to impose conditions for any certifying authority delegated to states by federal law, says the document. But a variety of groups and lawmakers, environmental groups opposed to loosening reviews, landholder advocates concerned about property rights, and small government conservatives who favor local government, say the measure would open the door for federal government to nullify state and local protections. That includes a recent South Dakota law to prevent pipeline operators from using eminent domain to force landowners to sell or allow use of their property. This is federal overreach, South Dakota State Representative Carla Lem said in a Thursday interview. It would overwrite any state or local law regarding the routing of a pipeline. They have been, South Dakota, from my understanding, they've done like 4 or 5 bills to continue to counter the federal government, basically saying you can't come into our state on our citizens' property and take it for your stuff. They've done it like 5, 6, somewhere in there, a ridiculous amount of times. And they passed a law to prevent this very same thing. And now they've got it in here again saying it don't matter. If we want it, we're going to take it. If we want it, we're going to take it. If we head over to this guy, Speaker John Hanson, he's a Speaker of the South Dakota House of Representatives. He's from South Dakota. Says property rights are under attack again. The House Energy and Commerce proposal for the budget reconciliation bill would override state laws that protect landowners. Hold on, what is going on up in here? What is going on? I don't even want to know. All right. House Energy and Commerce proposal for the budget reconciliation bill would override state laws that protect landowners' private property rights from being taken by Green New Deal carbon sequestration pipeline companies. I thought the Green New Deal was gone. I thought it was done. I thought it was shredded. I thought Trump was going against it the whole time. Oh, that's right. Because it's bad, it's not Trump, right? I forgot how that works. My bad. Proposal in the photos below block any state or local law that requires approval for a carbon pipeline's location. By taking away a right to approve or disapprove a carbon pipeline's location, our people's God-given private property rights, which, again, non-existent, but he's a politician, what do you expect? And the landowner protections we fought hard to put in place are dismantled. It strips our state of power to ensure that these projects follow the law and do not pose a serious risk to health or safety. It infringes on our constitutional right to self-governance. South Dakota and across the Midwest, our people have poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to defend private property rights. We've endured threats, intimidation, lawsuits, big money, deceptive political campaigns, and fake landowner rights bill drafted by carbon pipeline lobbyists, and was really just a tool to take away local control. We've said no to these companies and this project again and again. We passed landmark laws protecting landowner rights, but apparently no doesn't mean no to them. And now it looks like politicians in Washington are trying to give them federal power to take what isn't theirs for a project that people do not want. What's fascinating is in this dude's profile, he even says MAGA. I don't know if you guys can read that. Like that should tell you something. It should tell you something. But yeah, he's posted the picture of the part in the bill that allows this, and he even replied to his own post from June 6th of 2023, where it says, "This is a current scene on private property in South Dakota. An out-of-state for-profit corporation with armed patrol intruding on property without the landowner's consent to lay a carbon sequestration pipeline that the owner doesn't want." How many times have we seen that? They don't care. You don't own anything, and they don't care. We keep going. The U.S. House passes big, beautiful bill, which ramps up oil and gas leasing. They don't put it in the carbon thing in the title, which is funny. Carbon capture subsidies saved, but other clean energy credits axed. So we just jump down because we don't care about any of that stuff. We go down here, clean energy retreats. While the bill sets a $1 million fee for any gas company that applies with the Department of Energy to either import or export liquefied natural gas, it also lets those applicants pay a $10 million fee to expedite federal regulatory reviews. In addition, the bill spends $1.32 billion on the Department of Energy to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, repeals a provision that forced the agency to draw down specific amounts of crude oil from the SPR during 2026 and 2027. Meanwhile, renewable and clean energy took a massive hit from the bill, which rolls back tax credits for solar and wind manufacturing, along with clean hydrogen products, zero-emission nuclear power production, and clean vehicles, among other measures. The bill also rescinds unallocated funds from the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden-led bill from 2022 that unleashed a wave of clean energy subsidies. It also repeals funding for the methane emissions reduction program under the Clean Air Act. But the carbon capture credit tax credits that were increased through the IRA, known as the 45Q credits, were left intact. Chief Jeff F. Eshelman, chief executive in the Independent Petroleum Association for America, called the legislation a win for American energy. However, the Sierra Club said the legislation would kneecap import environmental protections and allows oil and gas companies to pay to pollute or pay to take land. The expedited review payments. This bill is a disaster for working Americans. It endangers our clean air and water. This will devastate our growing economy and the manufacturing jobs that are powering it. This opens up precious lands and waters to even more reckless oil and gas drilling, basically taking away property rights. That's essentially what's going on with that. We jump over here, the Food and Water Watch. There's over 100 organizations to Congress to fund the carbon capture tax credit scam. That's the thing that made it through on the bill. Today, more than 100 organizations representing landowners, tribes, environmental advocates, fiscal watchdogs, and community leaders. You know it's bad when you have environmental activists and landowners teaming up against something. That should tell you something. They are usually always at odds. They are usually always enemies of each other, but they are actually teaming up against this thing. That should tell you something. Teaming up with these people and leaders from across the political spectrum sent a letter urging members of Congress to vote against the budget bill that leaves in place the carbon capture tax credit scam and fast-tracks dangerous pipeline projects in communities across the country. If passed, the bill would allow big corporations to pay $10 million for a fast-track permitting scheme that will shortchange community and effectively guarantee approval after 1 year unless regulators act to stop it. You want to know what this pipeline is that's going on? It's from these guys here, the Summit solutions, and they've been working on this for a while. Their Project Footprint. So North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa. And you can see here the storage site up here in North Dakota. Pipeline will run all the way through South Dakota, Minnesota, all in there with all the blue dots that you see are the capture facilities that are going to be built. If anybody has property in those spots and they don't want this running through there, that's what this thing in the big bill is. They're built to allow them to basically just take the land and build it anyways. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. We can see here, this is back December 12th, 2024. North Dakota approved CO2 storage for Summit Pipeline. If we jump over here, this is also a part of it that happened in April. North Dakota governor signs measure protecting pesticide makers from lawsuits because of the Roundup lawsuit that happened there. So basically all chemical polluters and stuff, you can't sue them in North Dakota anymore. Iowa Utilities Board, this was back in June of 2024. Iowa Utilities Board approves permit for controversial Summit Pipeline. Minnesota grants long-awaited permit for carbon capture pipeline. That was December 12th as well. And these are all places where the landowners, the farmers, and everything like that have been protesting and voting against and everything. And these governments basically said, we don't care what you have to say. We're going to make money. And so we're going to do it anyways. The last holdout, I don't know what's going on with Nebraska, but the last holdout is South Dakota, we just read some of their stuff. They've been pushing hard against it. But this big bill doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of stuff in that bill that's like this. Stuff that we don't know about yet. Because it's 1,100 pages. Not even Congress has read the whole thing. They don't read any of that crap anyways. But still, not even Congress has read this thing. People can't, because you get 12 hours to look through all this stuff. But there's stuff hidden in there because some of it is just a section, a subsection. Some of it's 2 sentences. That's why it's so hard to try and dissect and find this stuff, because they hide them in there. They specifically hide them in there so there's no recourse. That's why there was the thing about the AI and taking away states' rights for AI. Then there's this thing that's in there. And there's a couple other things. There's the Social Security thing where they're not reducing the Social Security stuff on that. They're adding a thing where it's like a couple $1,000s after the age of 60 or 75 or whatever it is. But the taxing that they promised, that Trump promised regarding Social Security, not in there. So what happened to promises kept? No, lied again. They specifically hide that stuff in there because of this.